Hello and welcome to the third episode of Pesticide History. In this episode we'll cover fungicides. The earliest known fungicide was called the Bordeaux Mixture. It was initially created as a means of preventing fruit theft, but was found to also control fungi. It was a mixture of copper sulfate, hydrated lime, and a lot of water. In the first era of fungicides, it was entirely consistent of inorganic metals being mixed with water and other compounds as a means of controlling fungus, with later versions being coupled with organic compounds to improve the sticking potential. Later discovered that you can culture fungi in petri dishes and use different chemicals on the fungi to see if they can kill the fungi. This led to the creation of new fungicides, although it also required safety testing. This happened in the 60s. Most common forms of fungicide were developed as the organic protectant fungicides, which were developed in the second era of fungicides, and the systemic fungicides, which were developed in the third and current era of fungicides. We will cover both in this video. We'll start with the organic protectant fungicides. It was first discovered in 1934 that diethyl carbamates had antifungal properties, although no commercial development occurred until after the Second World War. The first fungicide used commercially was Furban, a ferric salt form of diethyl carbamatic acid, although it became unpopular due to the fact that it left a black deposit on leaves. A later derivative, called Furban, was later discovered and it lacked the black residue but still has equal to or greater resilience than the previous fungicide. It was used extensively on the fungus known as Pythium, as well as other pathogens of fungal origin. Another strain of this same chemical combination called axialdimines were made, and were often coupled with zinc to create Zinleb, or manganese to make Manleb, or a combination of the two called Mancozeb. These strains of fungicide had low negative effects on the plants themselves, and could protect against a wide range of fungal ailments, with the exception of powdery mildews. Mancozeb was first created in 1961 and remains in the EU, and is still used to this day to deal with different diseases in potatoes, ornamentals, and tomatoes. Still, yet another class of fungicides called the quinones were also created, although they were unstable in light. These were often mixed into soil to deal with root infections. The most popular form is called Captan. The first one was introduced in 1952. It is used extensively to treat apple scab disease and a range of vegetables and ornamentals, and it deals with a wide range of different fungal species. Another group introduced in the 1940s were called the Nitrobenzenes. Due to their volatility, they're not used in the field regularly, but they are used extensively in preserving fruit post-harvest. In 1959, the chemical Cyprex was developed and had significant abilities to eradicate fungi, and is very mobile on the surface of plant tissues. Introduced in the 1964 era, and is used to this day mixed with other fungicides. On to systemic fungicides. During the 20th century, the holy grail of fungicide research was to discover chemicals that could move within the plant, to act as a means of killing the fungus once an infection happens, and to act as a protectant, much the same way organophosphates and neonics work. The first one discovered was glyphosate. This was found in the 1940s. It moved throughout the plant within the plant tissue once applied, and gave control to some diseases, but was too unstable for general use. A later one discovered called acidione was found to be really good at controlling white pine blister rust. And in 1959, 4 million trees were sprayed with this fungicide, and it controlled the disease, but also caused a lot of damage to the trees as well. In the 1960s, various chemical companies such as DuPont, ICI, and BASF, and Uniroyal began making their own systemic fungicides through different research processes. DuPont discovered Benamil in 1968, around the same time that ICI discovered dimethyl in 1968. BASF also discovered Dodomorph in 1967, and Uniroyal discovered carboxin in 1966. Benomyl was the first of the fungicides to be used, and it was used extensively against a range of diseases in cereals, orchard fruit, vegetables, and vines. Fortunately, it was also toxic to other microorganisms and vertebrates, especially earthworms, and was in fact used to kill worms prior to being used as a fungicide. Fortunately, due to this fungicide only attacking one site of action, meaning it only attacked one chemical pathway within the fungus, the fungal strains quickly adapted through the process of evolution to develop resistant strains of fungus to this fungicide. One such example being Cercospora, or the leaf spot fungus, which is found on both sugar beet and wheat. Dimethyl, used extensively on powdery mildews in fruit crops and ornamentals, but like Benomyl before it, only attacked one chemical pathway, and so the mildew developed resistance to it very quickly. Carboxin came afterwards, and was used to treat rhizoctonia, and is still being used to this day because the smut fungus cannot withstand this fungicide very well, for unknown reasons. Unfortunately, none of them work against the oomycete fungi, which are not actually fungi. Turns out that oomycete fungi are actually a different kingdom of life altogether. We'll cover how they dealt with that next. First fungicide to deal with oomycetes, such as Pythium and Phytophthora, and downy mildews, the phenylamines consisted of metaaxyl, furaxyl, and betaxyl. They worked against all oomycete species, but are ineffective against regular fungi. Also worked really well against potato blight, which was also oomycete in nature. Later on in the mid-70s, Triazole group was also developed to deal with oomycetes. Also worked on different types of funguses as well, such as smut and one leaf blight species. New forms were later created to make. Later forms were also used to control other fungi species such as anthracnose and other cereal pathogens like eye spot. As more formulations were added, more fungi were added to the hit list, including different types of rust. This continued to be developed up, and research continues to this day. In the 90s, another group of fungicides called strobilurins were also created. First engineered from various fungal poisons found ironically in mushroom caps. They're used extensively on different diseases such as scab, downy mildew, clubroot, white mold, and alternaria. Now on to the mode of action for all these fungicides. The carboxin chemical fungicides disrupt the chemical pathway within the electron transport chain of the mitochondria called succcinate dehydrogenase of complex 2, effectively disabling their mitochondria, preventing ATP from being formed, killing the fungus. The Dodomorph stopped the synthesis of rhizobium RNA, and the majority of Protectant fungicides have multiple sites targeted, meaning that these older chemistries disable multiple chemical pathways within a fungus. And most systemic fungicides use similar pathways to disable the fungus, leading to cross-resistance, requiring a combination of different fungicides to be used to treat different diseases, prevent resistance. Well, that about covers everything. Thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching this video. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to me on BitChute for a greater variety of content, 4 videos a week. And thank you to all my subscribers on both platforms. I appreciate it.